Hello, hello.
Hello, hello, hello. All right, so we are discussing one of my favorite topics today, and that is books.
By the way,
There, yes,
I can't believe that we haven't done this yet.
I know. You know what? So it's really crazy that we haven't done this yet, and it's also really crazy that I haven't asked you for your top list of books, and you haven't asked me for mine because we
I
both
know.
love books, we both love reading and everything like that. So one of my heroes, a man who I got to meet, and I know his daughter pretty well. She's from Mechanicsburg, but this guy is named Charlie Tremendous Jones, and his daughter is a phenomenal woman. She Charlie Tremendous Jones had a quote, and it was, "There's only two things that are going to change you. Excuse me. You are the person today you're going to be 10 years from now, except for two things: the people you meet and the books you read."
I'll agree with that to a certain extent, and you know what? This kind of goes hand in hand. I got one too, right? It's like this. You probably heard this. Be careful of your thoughts because your thoughts become actions. Be careful of your actions because your actions become habits. Habits, and your habits become who you are. Right.
Right. Yep.
Right. And that's true. I mean, what you put in your brain is going to determine who you're going to be. And so, talking about books, I mean, what else is that except programming?
Right. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
exactly right. It's garbage in, garbage out. I lied on the application at the age of 17 to join the Amway Corporation. And
You're a
so
terrible
that's how
person.
much of an entrepreneur I am. Some people have like a rough childhood that they want to get away from, so they like lie and join the Navy or lie and join the Army. I lied to join Amway. What does that tell you about I was just like destined to be a salesman. So here's the deal. I did not make a lot with Amway because of my age and everything like that, but it was just a phenomenal learning opportunity for me. And one of the things that they did is they always are pushing books that you should read and making a bunch of book recommendations. And
Yep.
so I fell in love with always reading books. And so I'm always reading 5 books at any one time, Josh. I'm always reading a political book. I'm
Okay.
always reading a religious book. I'm always reading a sales, business, or motivational book, sales, business, motivation, that type of thing. So politics, religion, sales, business, motivation. I'm always reading something fun just for me. You know what I mean? A thriller or sci-fi book or something like that. And I'm always reading. It's what I call what they're reading. So like I read the first 3 books, 4 books in the Hunger Games series. I read all the Harry Potter books. I read the first 2 books in the Twilight series. You know what I mean? Like, because I want to be able to. I read the Hunger Games books. The first one was amazing. After that, they are hot garbage. So I can
Oh,
talk to
really?
people.
Dude,
Oh, the
we're gonna
first.
do another show on like free read time, right?
Okay. We should do another show on popular things that Judah Hoover doesn't like: pumpkin spice lattes, dogs, Harry Potter, Hunger Games is like right there at the top of the
Oh
list.
my gosh. Well, you know what they say, right? Everything popular is wrong.
Right, exactly, and I agree, and
I
I
I
100%
I get
agree.
that. I can, yeah, yeah.
Everything
All right.
popular is fun.
So look, we're going to talk about 2 different categories of books here
Hmm.
because the books that I chose have nothing on their surface to do with real estate.
Right.
But they changed me and the way that I did business in such a positive manner that I think they're important to take a look at, and they fit really well with what we're doing. But some of your books fall into that business development category. Some of them are more straight line, like straight up real estate books. So
Right.
let's jump in, right?
Yep.
Let's start with your 4, 5, and 6 because this guy gets a lot of bad
All right. So go
press.
ahead. What are 4, 5, and 6?
Your 4, 5, and 6: Rich Dad, Poor Dad, cash flow, the cash flow quadrant, and real estate riches.
Right.
But
So
within the
so
Rich Dad family, right?
Right. So all in the Rich Dad family: Robert Kiyosaki,
Yeah.
Really, really kind of sparked and motivated a generation of entrepreneurs to get involved in real estate. I got involved in real estate and entrepreneurship kind of before Robert Kiyosaki was big and famous. And I grew up in my late teenage, early 20s playing the game cash flow. Me and my brother didn't play Monopoly. We played cash flow. I
Dude,
can't
you
wait
must
till
have
I
had
can,
some bucks though. You must have had some bucks because that game used to be $100. That was like
dude,
$100 for a board game. Forget it.
dude, absolutely. Yep. And my brother had a copy and I had a copy. We also had cash flow 202, which has even bigger, deal cards, and there's all
Ooh,
kinds of new rules and stuff like that. Cash flow 202 is like a total, like, listen, like, you know how like you're a real nerd if you can speak Klingon? You know what I mean? Like you're a real nerd if you like you're a real nerd if you have Cash Flow 202, the
wow.
board game.
Wow.
So, but here's the thing. So people call, there's that old Facebook meme from Morpheus. He's there holding, the red pill and the blue pill. You know what I
Right.
mean? And so people talk about getting purple pilled, like they read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and their life was never the same after. And some people go on to read Cash Flow Quadrant, which is good because Cash Flow Quadrant talks about the difference between being, an entrepreneur, a business owner, a what is it? An entrepreneur at EBI investor. Why can't I think of the fourth thing?
PIFC. Is it the disc? Is that what you're?
No, 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 no,
I
no,
know.
no.
I
I'm
know.
I'm 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 under pressure because I'm
Yeah.
live and I'm not able to think of
It's
what the
cool.
four things are. So, but how you gradually move from being, essentially self-employed, but really your job owns you, and you think you're self-employed, the whole way to the point where all you're doing is investing money and your money is working for you. And
Right.
that's a great progression to be on. But there's so many real estate investors who don't read Real Estate Riches. And Real Estate Riches is an awesome book written by this guy by the name of Dolph DeRoos. He's from New Zealand, I think. And he just goes over the fundamentals of being a real estate investor because a lot of people are actually disappointed with Rich Dad Poor Dad because there's not many how to's in Rich Dad Poor Dad. Rich Dad Poor Dad kind of just opens your mind to the concept of be an entrepreneur, don't be a slave for somebody else, right? That's really all Rich Dad Poor Dad gets you to do is accept the premise that you're never going to get wealthy making wealth for somebody else.
So my biggest takeaway from Rich Dad Poor Dad is a lesson about the comic books. I don't know if you remember this. So there's a scene in the kid's trying to learn how to make money, and he
Right.
sits down with the rich dad and he learns this lesson. Well, he's at the comic book store and he sees the person at the front desk throwing out all these comic books. And as he's throwing out all the comic books, he's like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "Oh, if we have comic books we don't sell, we take off the cover, send them back to the publisher, and then throw out the rest of the thing and we get a refund." And he's like, well, "Why are you throwing them out?" Well, she's like, "Well, we can't sell them, so we get the money back." She's like, "Well, can I have them?" And she's like, "Yeah, you can have them, but you can't sell them."
Right.
He opens a pay per library
Right.
with comic books and charges people a quarter to go in and read all they want. That is huge. I mean, you think about that insight, making money out of nothing. I mean, that's
Right.
what wholesaling is. Essentially, you're
Right.
adding value to a transaction. But sorry, go ahead. I
No, no,
didn't.
no. It's great. So figure out your hustle, figure out what you're going to do, figure out how you want to make money. A lot of people that ends up being real estate, and he kind of
Yeah.
pushes people towards real estate in that book, but he doesn't really teach people a lot about real estate investing. Real Estate Riches is the book written by Dolph DeRoos. And so here's Robert Kiyosaki's real clever ploy, right? So he writes these two best-selling books, makes a name for himself, and then he says to a bunch of other people, by the way, if you want to write a book, I'll publish it under my Rich Dad Advisor series.
Yeah.
I'll take some of the credit and some of the money, and you get some of the credit and some of the money, and we go from there. And so Robert Kiyosaki is just lending his name to and blessing other authors,
Yep.
and he's making that. So here's the deal. One of those books is Real Estate Riches, and Dolph DeRoos actually goes through how to the introductory steps into becoming a real estate investor. One of the things that I learned from it, that I loved from it, is the deal of a lifetime comes along every 2 weeks. So, I counsel people all
That's
the
good.
time, when they
I like that.
get their arms around a deal and they're afraid they're never going to find another deal again. And I'm like, no, the deal of a lifetime comes along every 2 weeks. You've just got to be out there hustling and always looking, and there's always going to be another deal to find.
And sometimes the best deal you ever have is the one that you don't buy. Like
Believe me,
that's the best
I'd
investment.
rather I'd rather be upset. A business mentor taught me this. A good friend of mine, Bruce. You know Bruce.
Yeah.
One of the lessons I learned from Bruce, and I had to actually then learn it in real person, but I didn't have to learn it 2 or 3 or 5 times. But I learned it once
Yeah.
from Bruce and then learned it once on my own. And that is, I'd rather be upset about the deal I didn't do than be upset about the deal I did do. And it was
Yep.
a time just like this in the market, and there was a lot of people doing deals, and I was upset about all these people doing deals, and I did some stupid deals and did okay, and then I did some really stupid deals and did not do okay, and then I did a phenomenally stupid deal and almost lost my shirt. And I realized, oh, that's what Bruce meant when he said it's better to be upset about the deal you didn't do than be upset about the deal you did do, because I was really, really upset about the deal I did do.
Okay. So
Next.
Rich Dad Poor Dad series
Right.
takes three of your, like, it's 30, a full 33% of your top
If I
nine
was
books.
going to give you my top 9 books.
I don't even have nine. I got
Right.
four that we're going to talk
Okay,
about.
great.
But I mean, that's a pretty significant contribution to the real estate space right there.
I believe so.
If you have kids, by the way, if you have kids and you don't have cash flow cash flow the game, go on Amazon. You can buy it. I think it's $69. And if you have a Prime membership, they'll deliver it in like 2 weeks because it's that backlogged, right?
Right.
But I did this with my kids. I have an 11-year-old that now knows how to read a financial statement, knows the difference between an asset and a liability, and is teaching his friends how to do math, like how to do accounting. That's huge, huge.
Right.
All right. My number one, because for me, total life changer. It's called The 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. Huge, gigantic fan of Tim Ferriss. Judah is rolling his eyes. I think that
I work 4 hours before lunch every day. You know what I mean? Like I 4 hour work week. I just can't even
So it's
can't
not
even
for
imagine.
everybody. Okay, so think about it like this: the idea of the premise of this book is this dude graduates from Princeton. He figures out how to hack himself into Princeton as an 18-year-old with CB grades. Gets into Princeton, fails at business a couple times while he's in college. Gets out with a degree in I don't know, physiology or something like that, but always had an interest in in drugs, and not like recreational drugs, but like things that you can put into your body and how they affect your body, and also recreationally, but like different stuff. So he develops this nutritional supplement called Brain Quicken, and within a year of him graduating from college, he's making $80,000 a month doing it. But he's also working 18 hours a day, and like he's waking up at crazy hours for Europe, going to bed at crazy hours for the Asian markets, working all day. And he's like ready to lose his doggone mind. And it's his progression. One day he just has enough. He's like, in a year, I'm leaving. I'm taking a year vacation. And it's how he outsourced his entire business
Right.
and increased his revenue from $80,000 to $120,000 a month, working 4 hours a week.
Right.
And it's a great way to implement processes and find the right people and have faith in the right people to do their job. And I mean, like, that was a hard lesson for me to learn. Because
Yeah, I still, Josh, you and I gotta work through through some more of that stuff, my friend. I will say this. I've been blessed to be here at Slate House Group for the last 4 years, and we have had a meteoric rise in our footprint and units that we're managing, and when the company hired me 4 years ago as their first executive, I was like employee number 25, and now we have about 135 employees.
Yeah.
So we've had tremendous growth, and I tag a lot of that to using proper systems
Sure.
and streamlining things and getting really good at putting processes and procedures into place that procedures and decision trees make decisions, people don't make decisions,
Yeah.
so that the decision is already pre-thought out. If you think about it, what's the you ever see Mad Men?
Yeah.
Right? Who's the guy? I forget if it's Sterling or Cooper. I think it's Cooper, who is the old man who sits in his
Oh yeah, I
in,
love
in
him.
his
Yeah.
in his room and just like trims the bonsais, because all his whole job is to have a company that he only needs to make one or two decisions a week. He
Yeah.
only needs to be in one or two meetings a week. He, like, if the head of Procter and Gamble comes in, he meets with them. If the head of
Right.
Bethlehem Steel comes in, he meets with them. If there's
Yeah.
something crazy decision that they've never ever made before, ever focused before, found before, he makes that decision. Other
Yep.
than that, the company runs on autopilot because that's how he has had it set up. And that's kind of the same thing of what 4-hour work week is.
Well, other than that, his real job is just to drink all of the scotch and gin on the entire floor and get as wasted as he can, right? Like that's it. That's it.
You're thinking of John Hamm's character, not
I'm thinking of
Sterling.
all of the characters on that
Oh
show.
yeah,
I mean, like
that's
that's an advertisement for alcoholism. If I
there's
ever,
a lot. There's a lot of there's a lot of really good like sales movies out there, and there's a lot of other things like that. There's a lot of good. I mean, listen, there's a lot of degeneration in that series too, but
right,
there's
right.
a lot of high level business principles in that movie, in that
Well,
in that in that show.
let's talk about high level business principles because that leads me to a tie between 2 and 3 for me. And this is a four book list.
Right.
I've got Pitch Anything by Oren Clough. This book is a template on how to pitch whatever you want.
Right.
And it's the psychology behind how people react to a pitch, how you go into a business meeting with high level people and disrupt it and take command of the room and add credibility to yourself. It's incredible. It takes you step by step through the pitch on how to present things.
Right. So I can't believe that I still haven't read this because it's a book that's been on my radar for a while, and I'm always reading, a sales book,
Yep.
and it's not. I just have not read that one yet, and I absolutely need to.
All right. Also, a sales book, Never Split the Difference, 2 and 3. I love that book. I have read it and read it and read it, and I have it on audiobook as well. And like I'll listen to that, I don't know, probably once a month. It's a really great book that breaks down how excuse me, the psychology of selling. And it's amazing how few decisions people really make.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we think that we are autonomous beings and original individualists and all that kind of stuff. But the truth is, we all follow the same template, right? And base
Was
your
that
traffic.
written by a Navy SEAL, or is that the one with the FBI?
He's an FBI negotiator.
Right,
Yeah,
the FBI
exactly.
negotiator one. Right.
He was a head negotiator for the FBI. He actually, they wouldn't even let him take the negotiation course until he worked in a call center for what was it, for like suicide prevention call centers, and because of the psychology that went behind. Like you think that you're trying to do a good job on the phone, but the truth is you're trying to have the other person do a good job on the phone.
Right.
And and so much we spend time leading people to a false yes. Like there's a whole chapter on false yeses and how to get the no first, because that's really when the conversation starts. Like very good book. Very good book. All right, Judah, give me your give me your
You got my list. What's that?
I know. So you wanna do number one?
Well, yeah. So I think here's the thing: is there's a lot of fancy books that are coming out, and there's a lot of courses that are coming out, and I'm going to talk about 3 or 4 here in a row.
Yeah.
Think and Grow Rich is critical.
Yeah.
I think that there's chapters in the back of the book that I'm ashamed to have on my shelf, and I would rip them out and throw them out and burn them. So don't
Really?
get me wrong. Yeah, there's parts of Think and Grow Rich that are just downright heretical. However, Think and Grow Rich is really a critically important book for mindset and things like that.
Yeah.
But the basic premise behind Think and Grow Rich is anything that a man thinks and can conceive in his mind,
Can
another
achieve.
man can do. You know what I mean? If you can believe it, you can achieve it. And that
Yeah.
sounds like hocus pocus, and that sounds like name it and claim it theology or wealth prosperity gospel or whatever. But it's really not any of that. It's just if one man can do something, another man can do it, and you just have to be committed to making it happen. Another one is The Richest Man in Babylon. It's a personal finances book that's set in parable form. It's really good. It's so there's a number of these books: Think and Grow Rich, Richest Man in Babylon, The Go Getter, How to Win Friends and Influence People, Mach 2 with Your Hair on Fire. Those 5 books are all books that you could read 10 or 15 minutes a day and bang them out in a month. You know what I mean? Like if you hate reading, just 10 or 15 minutes before you go to bed at night, or 10 or 15 minutes in the morning while you're sipping your coffee, instead of staring at the news, instead of playing Candy Crush or Toon Blast or whatever game it is you're playing, instead of, face scrolling on Facebook, sip your coffee and read a good book. Put 10 or 15 minutes worth of a good book in your head. But Think and Grow Rich will raise your confidence level. Richest Man in Babylon will change your spending habits and turn you into a saver. Mach 2 with Your Hair on Fire will teach you how to create motivation. Do you ever feel like, okay, I'm going to do this, this, and this today. And then after work, I'm going to do, whatever for my business. And then you just don't quite have the motivation after lunch to get everything done that you thought you were going to.
Yep.
Mach 2 with Your Hair on Fire turns your brain into a machine that manufactures motivation. And you learn how to create motivation by reading Mach 2 with Your Hair on Fire. It's a very powerful book. The Go Getter teaches you the power of tenacity. And I got to tell you, this I've already decided. You asked me what my favorite books are. The Go Getter is a book that you can read out loud in a weekend, and I am reading The Go Getter to my kids this weekend. I might even just do it tonight. The Go Getter is a phenomenal book. Yeah, Noah says he loves The Richest Man in Babylon. It is a phenomenal, phenomenal book. We should spend a day. One of our shows should just be going over the bullet points on Richest Man in Babylon. And here's the last one that I'm going to go over: How to Win Friends and Influence People. Now you're going to read How to Win Friends and Influence People, and you're going to be like, "Oh yeah, well that makes sense. Oh yeah, well everybody knows that, don't they? Oh yeah, well whatever." Well, How to Win Friends and Influence People was written in the time when Archie Bunker was popular. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When punching people in the face was a way of solving problems. It's so funny. So here's a funny story for you.
Hold on a second. Jason, you're going to tarnish your reputation saying things like that. Like, we have people that watch this show. Come on, man.
So I'm a skydiver, right? And
Right.
skydivers are basically like they're like inland surfers, right? They're hippies away from they're surf dogs away from an ocean. But there's also some like old school skydivers, and this one guy is a he was in the military, has combat jumps into Vietnam and everything like that. And we were talking about how to solve a problem on the drop zone that like there's somebody who we're having some challenges with, and should we say this to him? Should we say that to him? Should we present it this way? Should we, do this, that, and the other thing? And this guy says, I think somebody just needs to jack his jaw up once or twice. And everyone was like, whoa. But that used to be a legitimate way of solving problems. And in that era, in that time, How to Win Friends and do I base jump? Any base jumps, Judah? No. I value my life way too much to go base jumping. Base jumpers are crazy and damn near suicidal. So no, I'm not a base jumper. I'm just a skydiver. So here's the deal. How to Win Friends and Influence People like condenses down a whole bunch of lessons that like kind of you knew were right in your head, but you never knew exactly how to say. Now, I don't want to get too political here or anything like that, but Josh, you know, you and I both are fans of Jordan Peterson, right?
Yep.
And Jordan Peterson sometimes says stuff and you're like, yeah, I've always kind of half thought that, but I never knew how to condense it down into one sentence.
Yep.
That's what, when you read How to Win Friends and Influence People, you will realize that you've been in situations where you're like, I want to take the high road here, and I know taking the high road is the right way to do it. I just don't know how to do it. How to Win Friends and Influence People will show you exactly step by step what to do in order to take the high road. And guess what? I mean, it's biblical. You know, I mean, like, you know, it's even in the Bible, is that if you're kind to people, not only will you, if you're kind to people who are mean to you, that's the meanest thing you can do to them. The Bible says it's like heaping burning coals on their head.
That's right.
You know, we do this whole thing where somebody's mean to us, and so we're mean back to them, and then they're mean to us, and then we're meaner back to them. If you really want to be mean to somebody, kill them with kindness. Not like sarcastic Pollyanna kindness, but sincerely be as kind and genuine to them as possible, and you will actually get inside their head and mess them up.
That was great. So before I share my last book on my list, I think your sister has one. Oh, hold on. Wrong one. We got too many comments popping up. I think we got to start this hashtag. I mean, your sister is on my team. Awesome. I love it. All right.
Yeah. Josh, she's just not on my team. I mean, you have siblings, right? You know how it goes.
That's hilarious.
You know how siblings go.
All right. So I'm going to preface my last. I wouldn't even say it's a book. I don't even know if they sell it as a book or binder. It's actually a course.
Okay.
The Carlton Sheets No Money Down system. And here's why I say this. This dude put together so much content and so much information in one place. There are probably 100 ways to buy a property with none of your own cash in that course.
Yep.
It changed my life. It was the first time I ever even heard of investing in real estate.
Preach, brother.
Yeah, boom. It was the first course I ever bought. And yeah, a lot of the stuff's like pie in the sky. But it's like, for me, it was like multi-level marketing.
Right.
In and of itself, not really a fan. The residual impact of what you learn, really solid. Yep. It can be a springboard to something else. So with that said, that's my last choice. One of my
Jason Sanseverino says that he bought that 2 decades ago. That's about the time that I bought it. I mean, I remember so here's how long ago I bought that book. I bought that book like early. What's that?
Is the paper turned to dust?
Yeah. So I bought that like in the 2000, 2001, something like that. Yeah. I remember not every debit card operated as a credit card. Remember how some debit cards were just ATM cards? Like you couldn't use them as a credit card at like a restaurant and things like that. I had to go to my bank and specifically get a credit card because all they took was credit cards. I couldn't mail them a check or anything like that. And I had to go to my bank and specifically upgrade my ATM card to a debit card so I could give it to the people at Carlton Sheets. And it was like $2.99. Can you imagine that? Like all that training? Like think about how cheap Carlton Sheets sold that course for. I'm just thinking now, like it's something like $2.99.
You're talking about the 2000s? That's when I bought the course, 1994. I was 16. And it was the same deal. Yeah, dude. And I watched, I can remember popping that puppy in my CD player that was hooked up to a wire with a tape player, putting it in the car, and and hoping it worked, and hoping I didn't go over any bumps because it would.
Oh, that's right, the CDs, and they were like the first module was blue, and then it was green, and then red was the advanced.
Dude, exactly. I mean,
dude, we just totally nerded out. We just lost half our listeners. Nobody cares. Like, I mean, this is, dude, that was on audio tapes. And do you remember that it came with cassette tapes too that you could play?
You can get
How
them.
to get cash back at the closing table?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
over finance.
Bonuses. Oh man.
Oh, dude,
I love that. You missed one of your. We got a couple minutes left. We got time to cover this.
What
Hold
did I not talk about? Think and Grow Rich, Richest Man in Babylon, Greatest Salesman in the World. Greatest Salesman in the World is by Og Mendino, Og Mengele, Og something or other. I forget. Yeah. Og Mendingo.
You did cover them all.
Right. Yeah. And that's just a great sales book.
All right. I got one more.
It basically is the principle. It basically is the principle. Like it kind of, Greatest Salesman in the World is kind of the same thing, similar as Go for No. Like, make one more sales phone call. Make one more cold call. Like, if you're knocking on doors and you decide you're done, knock on 5 more doors. Like, just always go that little bit extra. And that's what it takes. I was coaching somebody just the other day, just Tuesday night or something like that. And it was after the show, and I was like, listen, what you need to do is call all these for rent ads that you see, and you need to make 100 calls a week, and you're only going to reach so many people, but you need to get 20 no's. And here's the deal. You're going to be embarrassed. And once you're embarrassed, you're going to feel bad, and then you're not going to want to do it again. And the question is, are you going to do it again? Like, because what he needs to do is he needs to pitch sandwich leases and subject to and seller financing and lowball offers. You know what I mean? Because he's got no money, so he's got to do all these creative things, and he's got to learn about each one and learn about, well, if I read Josh's situation right, he would be open to this type of pitch, and maybe I get wrong on that. You know what I mean? Because like, you've got to match the situation to the person, and then you've got to effectively pitch them on it. And if you don't match it right, or you don't effectively pitch it, you lose the sale, and you might get laughed at, and you might get ridiculed. And the question is, when that happens, are you going to persist and continue making phone calls? Are you going to make phone calls the next day? Are you going to keep going after what you want in spite of the fact that you get doors slammed in your face?
I was talking to my wife about my son, and we started. I'm writing a course with him as we go through it on how to be an entrepreneur. And like, our first class was yesterday. I'm talking to my wife about it. She's a teacher, so she's giving me feedback on how to instruct
and how to instruct and stuff like that. That's awesome.
Exactly. So as we're talking, she goes, "Oh, I got something perfect." If she shows me this video, it's Kobe Bryant, right? And it's an interview about Kobe Bryant. This guy on his team, he goes in to work out. And when he shows up, Kobe Bryant's already working out. He's shooting basketballs, he's running, he's doing this and that. The guy does this whole workout, and he's leaving. And Kobe Bryant's still working out. And he's like, what's going on? Like, it was a full workout. And so he goes up to him and he's like, "Kobe, man, why are you still working out? Like, I saw you here when I got here. Now I'm done. Like, I did my whole workout. Well, I'm leaving. Why are you still here?" And he goes, "Well, I wasn't going to leave while you were still here." He's like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Dude, I outwork everybody. No matter what. I mean, that's like a slap in the face. He's one of the best basketball players ever. I mean, I love sports stuff. I'm a huge wrestling fan. Dan Gable is another guy. If you don't know who Dan Gable is, look him up. He is the second most prolific wrestler in American history, only to be surpassed by Penn State's current coach."
Oh, I thought you meant Hulk Hogan. So Hulk Hogan.
Oh my
Hulk
gosh.
Hogan, then Dan
I
Gable.
don't even have anything to say to you, but check this out. Dan
Gable
games in 1976 without giving up a point. And at the time, Russia had the best wrestling program in the world. He was so dedicated. He would wake up in the middle of the night to train because he knew his competition was up and training at that time. He would go and train, go back to bed, wake up and do the U.S. workouts. And the dude dominated the world. He was wrestling the guy one time, and the guy quit in the middle of the match, walked off the mat, never came back. Like, that's the kind of dominance that you can have just by outworking. I mean, we're not talking about, incredible talent. That's a farce.
Right. Yeah.
No.
It's I'm the same way, man. Like, I get a lot of credit for being a good salesman, and I get a lot of credit for that kind of thing. And the truth is, I'm actually a mediocre salesman. It's just that I'm always working at becoming a better salesman, and I will outwork you. I will out make phone calls than you. I will out network you. I will take meetings that you won't take. I will get up earlier than you. I will drive further. I will listen to people longer. I will outwork anybody. And for two reasons. I want to win, but I also sincerely want you to lose, because there is lessons that you will learn from losing. And here's the deal. Why can't I think of his name? Who taught Jim Rohn? Jim Rohn talks about this, that, when he would have sales competitions, if you can close 3 out of 10, Josh, and I can close 1 out of 10, I'm still going to beat you, because I'm just going to make 30 calls for every 10 call you make. That's all that means. You can be better than me, and I'm still going to win because I'm going to outwork you. And there's so many people who they get into real estate investing, and their real motivation is laziness. And you've got to want more than just quitting your job. You've got to want more than just sitting on a beach. You've got to want more, because it takes that tenacity to outwork the problem. And that's where the magic happens.
Yeah. I love it. I love it.
We went about 6 minutes long here. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. Josh is going to be here by himself on Friday. So I have a family funeral to be checking in at, and that also means, by the way, Josh, that Jonna won't be here propping you up with comments.
I know. Hey, listen, if anybody out there in listener land wants to co-host with me, shoot me an email. Josh,
I'm that easy to replace.
No, listen, we'll have a guest.
Anybody. Anybody. Just shoot me an email.
We'll interview you, right? Hey, guys, thanks for being on today. I want to give special thanks to Jason, Taz, Ian, Josh, Jeremy, and Bayshore. Guys, thanks for the love. If you liked what you saw today, don't forget to like and share our show. We'll be back here at noon tomorrow with some more great tidbits of information, and hopefully you'll be here to join us. Thanks, guys.
See everybody.